Well, first of all, if you're watching, welcome. This is the first video I'm posting here on YouTube. For those that know me, you have some idea of my background. For those who don't, I spent 15 years as a Catholic priest, 22 total in ministry. Left 5 years ago. And to this day, I still get asked about faith. I still get asked questions about God. I still get asked questions about spirituality, about the Bible, a variety of different topics that still I can like pull up pretty quickly from myself. The question of faith always comes up though, along with the question of God, because we tie those two things together so much, religion and faith in God, that it's hard at times for people to separate them. What I like to tell people, though, the past 5 years, probably more than the 22 years in ministry, has really been my journey of faith more than anything. And it's not to say that faith wasn't a part of it, it obviously was in those 22 years. But it's been very different the past 5 years. And how I like to differentiate it for people when they do ask is uh, the experience the past 5 years since I had left ministry is very much been more of a biblical faith that we might not necessarily speak about. We have a tendency to associate faith with religion and beliefs and doctrine and dogma and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. You know, do what you do. For me, it's been much more about learning to trust myself. And I don't think we do that very well as people, in my experience. But that even in the experience of leaving, I've told this story I don't know how many times on podcasts, where it was every step I took, every choice that I was making in my life, I had to ask myself each time, is this choice moving me towards freedom? And every day, and probably every choice I was making, I had to ask it over and over and over again. And what I began to realize as I was asking that question, that that journey towards freedom was much more than about leaving than it was ever about even questioning going back or staying or remaining in that life. That I did not feel free. And I still remember I had done a retreat for a month at a monastery in Indiana. Every day I'd go in and meet with this monk and ask the very same question. I just wish I could find a way out. I wish I could find a path that would take me beyond this life. So it was maybe even not so much clear at that point that I had to leave, that God, despite maybe pulling me into that space, was moving me beyond. Was simply inviting me to make a choice that seemed so life altering that I didn't know where it was going to take me. And I think that's the part that scared me the most. And I was fortunate enough that I had a little bit of time to work with. Again, if you know me, you know I spent time living and working on an organic farm in West Virginia, which was a great experience, especially in that moment when I needed healing more than anything in my life. But it was that experience of asking that question day in and day out, is this moving me towards freedom, that I think got me to the place where I knew that going back was not an option. And I said that was scary because if I look, and we could only look at our lives in retrospect, backwards, it had seemed now, looking at it all this time later, that I had been given the opportunity over and over again to make a change in my life. That maybe this isn't the right thing. Maybe this isn't the right thing. Maybe this isn't the right thing. And the image I like to use is it was like falling off a cliff, but I fell off just far enough that I could grab back on it and go back to what's comfortable. I think that was my experience every time I went on retreat in my years as a priest. But this last push, which was really a choice of taking better care of myself at that time, pushed me so far off the cliff that there was no going back. And if you've ever had that experience, you either fall, and which is the fear. The fear is I'm just going to fall. I'm going to completely fail in life, or I got to learn to fly. and I didn't know how to do that. I didn't feel like I knew how to do that. And so for quite a while, it felt much more like falling than it ever did like flying. And so the experience of falling, the experience of failing, the experience of facing the unknown seemed so new to me that I didn't know what to do with all of it. So that's why I say the past 5 years after leaving that life, and there are elements of it that I really appreciate. I liked preaching. I loved preaching. I loved teaching. But it's really been the past 5 years that has taught me way more about faith than I ever learned in a classroom studying theology or philosophy. And at times it's been scary, but I think that fear is a natural part of faith. Because whether you know it or not, you're always facing the unknown. You're always facing something that you have never experienced before, if you're willing to jump off the cliff. And so my whole thing has been, where's the leap of faith? Where's the leap of faith that I'm being invited into now, even facing struggles and things that are beyond my control in this moment? It's where's the leap of faith? Where am I being asked to leap, understanding that even if there's an element of falling, which I think is natural, that I can learn much more quickly now to fly. I can learn much quickly to, even if I may be descending and falling for a time, be able to take off in that moment. And so as a first video, as by way of introduction, who knows where videos and conversations go. But for me, that has been such an instrumental part of who I am the past 5 years. Those that know me know, I mean, I love theology, I love philosophy. I've had lots of opportunities to share that, to teach that. And so it still allows me to kind of dig in that space. But faith is really about, can you dig deeply into yourself? Knowing that you have very little control. Sometimes it feels like you don't even have control over your own life. But you have very little control. And with that little bit of control, I'm just, can I go deeper? Can I go deeper? Can I go deeper into myself to dig up and muster up the trust that is necessary to ask myself the question, is this choice moving me towards freedom? And if it's not moving me towards freedom, from a faith perspective, it's like, then more than likely is just my ego trying to keep me safe. Your ego is always going to try to protect you, try to keep you safe, but the heart is going to try to get you to take that risk, to be more open and free. So by way of introduction, that's me. And there are questions that I still dig deeply into, not only with myself, but with other people as well. Personal development, any type of world like that, coaching as I'm in, is still, for me, I may not use the language of faith, is still very much an element of faith. It's still very much an element of trust, learning to trust yourself, learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust that voice within yourself, not the voice in your head that always tries to keep you safe and confined, but the voice in your heart, the voice much deeper in yourself, that is really trying to move you to a place of freedom. That's really trying to move you to a place of living the life that you want, and not the life for someone else. So stop back again. I'll continue to post more videos of my experience of this journey of faith and coming to live the life that I want for myself, with the ups and downs. But keep asking the question, is this choice in this moment moving me towards the freedom that I really want for my life?